Welcome to Batshit, a frank and funny look at living with mental illness.
While we'll touch on several illnesses, Batshit is focused on those along the spectrum of bipolar disorders. I'm your host, Adam.
And I'm your other host, Brad.
And we're both bipolar, so strap in and let's see how batshit we really are.
Spoiler alert, pretty damn batshit. This episode's topic, Brad Interrupted.
The little-known sequel to Girl Interrupted, which I think that's where Angelina Jolie got her first big. Was that her?
Yeah, that was her first
Yeah,
big
she was.
role.
There was a lot of what's her name was in it too.
Winona Ryder.
Yeah, Winona Ryder and Amy. She passed away. The blonde. Britany Murphy.
Yes,
Britany Murphy. Sorry, not Amy. Britany Murphy.
Yeah.
Um,
she passed from black mold.
Is that no?
I'd heard that somewhere. Is that there was the house her and her husband bought
had black mold and it killed her?
Yeah.
Damn.
I mean, she might have had a pre-existing lung condition or something. But
wow.
Yeah, it's one of those things everybody assumes, a young actor is probably
heroin
drugs.
or something. Yeah, it's
but
crazy. I just had mold removal in my house. We're way off topic.
Already.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, the reason we are recording this is because, well, Brad, I'll let you talk about it.
I just got out of a mental hospital.
Hospital, not institution. Are there still mental institutions?
Yeah, I don't know that they refer to themselves that way.
Yeah.
I almost got sent to a psych ward and then opted out of that. So I guess some of that terminology is still around.
Sure.
But these days, mental health facilities tend to the most part be higher quality and more relaxing. Now, of course, I'm talking about a place that I voluntarily went into.
Right.
If you had a horrible episode and had to involuntarily be hospitalized, that might be different.
So, obviously, talk about what you want to talk about, and don't in any way feel pressure to talk about, what you're not ready to. But can you start with your lead up to seeking that treatment?
Yeah. So, I was having manic episodes. And if you guys tuned into our checking in, you heard how we basically, when this podcast started, we were all like, man, we're in therapy. We're on medication. We got control of this shit.
Let's do it.
You know what? Those minnows, they're now just one lethargic salmon. That's it. I'm good. Maybe all these people who kicked out of my life will start talking to me again.
Stupid Brad. Stupid Adam. Stupid.
And then we went into horrible depressive phases. And I started having manic episodes again. And
how long were you having them before you decided that what you were doing wasn't enough?
So for those of you who don't experience mania, or maybe don't experience it to this degree, you don't always recognize that you're in it when you're in it.
Sure.
You just feel, man, I'm energetic. I feel great. I feel confident.
Mm-hmm.
It feels good.
Right.
That's why it's difficult. That's why a lot of people get misdiagnosed with bipolar. They get misdiagnosed as unipolar depression,
right?
Which happened to you.
Yep.
Because you don't always see the mania as a bad thing.
Right. No, it's this is the equivalent of joy. So
right.
Go.
Right. Yeah. And you get that grandiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And once that starts kicking in, it's like, oh, there can't be anything wrong with me.
Right.
I am amazing. Why would there be anything wrong with me right now? I'm the fucking king of the world.
That's why you get that tattoo on your forehead that says king of the world.
I know. And you know what's weird? I haven't been able to get a job since.
What?
You would think that would open some doors for me.
You see, this is just more of mental health discrimination.
Yeah. So, looking back, I think I was having manic episodes off and on for a few weeks.
Okay.
And I have those memory gaps that we talked about.
Yeah.
I have weird behavior. I look back at emails I sent people, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is the most rambling, am I confessing my love for somebody here? Because that's kind of what it sounds like.
Sure.
And I don't know that's what I meant. No wonder they don't write me back. So, stuff like that, looking back on it. But then what came to a head And I'd never experienced a manic episode like this before. Again, we're talking about how it feels good.
Right.
You have the euphoria, all this. I had a big memory gap on a Friday. And my energy just kept increasing and increasing. I was talking a mile a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I started pacing around, and my heart wouldn't slow.
Okay.
My heart was just racing. And I was like, I'm going to go to the gym. I got a lot of energy. I'm
Sure.
going to go to the gym.
Burn it off, yeah.
Yeah, burn it off. On my way to the gym, and I don't remember this, I apparently had a very weird conversation with a friend of mine on the phone.
Okay.
I don't remember the conversation at all, but it made them worried about me.
Is this someone who knew you were bipolar?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I get to the gym. I work out. When I'm leaving the gym, it's night. And all the lights are incredibly bright and vivid.
Interesting.
All the colors.
Okay.
The the greens and the reds and stoplights, people's brake lights. Like, it's just incredibly vivid. And then I get home, and every little noise in my house is so loud and overwhelming. The creaking of the floor, my kids talking, not even screaming and fighting, just
right,
talking.
just talking, yeah.
The TV on, like I can't take it. I can't take any of it, and I have to just go sit in my room, and I'm like kicking my feet on the bed because I can't stop moving. So I don't sleep that night.
Mm-hmm.
I try to, and I just toss and turn all night.
Sure.
Next day, heart's still racing. And it's starting to feel bad. I'm sick to my stomach. Like, it feels like just adrenaline is just being dumped in my stomach over and over. I'm pacing around the room. I'm rubbing my arms. I'm snapping my fingers like this. Like, you guys can't see it, but I'm not even doing like normal.
Yeah, that's not how people snap fingers.
Yeah,
It's not...
yeah. It's my ring finger against the back of my middle finger for some reason. I'm walking around doing this nonstop. I'm rubbing my pants a lot while I walk around. And my wife is like, you had too much coffee. Right. Just go into the next room.
Real quick, proud of you for wearing pants, by the way.
Yeah.
Not just rubbing. Yeah.
I mean, I say pants. It was, calfskin.
Right.
Assless
chaps. Yeah.
But the calfskin.
That's
That's what makes it classy.
Yeah, that's what makes it classy.
So, so I'm walking around, I'm rubbing my pants, I'm snapping my fingers, I'm rubbing my arms. My wife's like, you just had too much coffee. You just need to calm down.
Interesting. Okay.
And I'm like, no, there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. And I'm getting freaked out. And so I look up a mental hospital.
Oh, okay.
And, well, first, okay, let me backtrack. And I tell this story because this is an indication. I'm going to get into like the weeds here.
Yeah.
This is an indication of how fucked up our system is.
Mm.
So I go on the app for my insurance, and it lists a bunch of places that supposedly carry my insurance.
Right.
So I call the first place, and they're great. The staff's great and everything, but they're like, we don't actually work with your policy. Like,
oh, right. They work for the insurance company, but not your particular policy.
Right.
Fucking
so yeah, already
dude.
the app's fucked up.
Yep.
And I'm not getting the information I need. And so I was like, oh, well, can you recommend another place? And they were like, yeah, let us get your number. We'll recommend we'll find a place that will take your insurance.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's
and
great.
I was like, just out of curiosity, if I paid out of pocket, what would it cost me? Well, our rates start at about $55,000, but the average is about $75,000.
I'm sorry, for how long?
That would be for a few days.
Fuck you. Really?
Yeah.
Oh my. And this wasn't, I assume, in like Malibu or the Pacific Palisades.
Yeah, no, I'm not calling like the Betty Ford clinic.
Right, yeah.
Right? Which I assume is fancy. I know.
I mean, Betty Ford was pretty fancy.
She was pretty fancy. I'm not calling the Matt Damon.
There you go.
Yeah. Sorry, Mr. Damon. Please return our calls.
Yeah, please.
But yeah, so I get a call back much later from another facility that they had referred me to.
Okay.
So I start talking to that facility. That facility needs copies of my insurance card. So I send them copies of my insurance card. Turns out they also don't use my policy.
God damn it.
So they refer me to another facility. This
Yeah.
happens again. So the fourth facility I get referred to.
This is how many days later?
Now we're on Sunday.
Okay.
Okay. So this keeps happening. My wife at this point has finally come around to being like, there's something wrong. And we had a little bit of an argument about that. And it was just, she didn't want there to be something wrong. And
No,
I understand
yeah.
that. I understand that. But I was, kind of standing there freaking out, being like, I need you to see this. I
Neither-
need you to realize this.
Neither do we. We don't want there to be something wrong either.
Yeah. So she ended up finding there was like an LA County mental health hotline.
Oh, okay.
So I called the mental health hotline. They recommend me to an urgent care out in Sylmar, which is a good distance
Oh, yeah.
from where I'm at. And so I get in the car and I drive out there. So the reason why I was saying I wanted to get in the weeds on that story is I was at least in my right frame of mind trying to do this.
All right.
Could you imagine if I was further along in the mania, or if you were, say, schizophrenic and you needed help, being forced to jump through these fucking hoops?
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get help.
Yep.
That's what's going to end up happening.
The number of times I've been in a depressive episode prior to my diagnosis, and I have tried once or twice to get some form of help, and then utterly failed because of the system, and then just gave up.
Yeah.
I just gave up because I was like, nope, can't, nope.
And you were in your right frame of mind.
Right. Yeah. And I wasn't.
I mean, you were depressed, but...
Right. Yeah. It wasn't, in any way like delusional.
Yeah.
Or,
If you're on the verge of having a psychotic episode and you're trying to catch it before it happens, it's going to happen before you could go through this process.
Right. So,
or you're going to end up with a $75,000 bill.
Woo! So, okay. So Sylmar, is that where you ended up being?
So, I drive out to Sylmar. I go into the place. I wasn't thinking I'm wearing gym pants with a drawstring.
Oh.
So they have to take my pants.
It's a dream. It's a dream, baby.
Right. I mean, that's how I live most of my life.
A lot of pornos start that way. You walk into the hospital, sir, I need your pants.
That would be a good like subcategory of porn. It's like mental health porn.
Oh my god. This is I'll treat your depression.
I love that that's also still the go-to music.
Right,
when people
like
are talking
70s
about
bass.
Yeah. Like, has porn used that music in 40 years?
Does porn have music?
I don't
think
know.
it does.
Not
that I remember. Anyway, sorry. Back to your no pants o'clock.
I don't know. We could check out Lauren's OnlyFans. And see. We love you, Lauren. So no pants o'clock. I also have to fill out like tons of paperwork and shit when I get there, which again, it's like, if you weren't in a right mental state,
why wouldn't you just turn around and walk out?
Right.
It's like, no, fuck this. Nope.
Yeah. Cause I was voluntarily checking myself
right.
in,
Yeah.
So I go through all this. They have to take my pants because there's a drawstring in them.
Did they give you new pants?
They gave me a gown.
All right.
So
they gave you something.
That's the first step on my, this made me depressed journey here. Because then I go in, and because it's mental health urgent care, most people aren't there voluntarily.
Right, there, yeah.
So I go in, I'm in a gown, white walls, white tile, all this stuff. Very clinical and antiseptic. There's someone who's basically comatose in a chair, completely unmoving, staring off into space. There's another guy who continually gets up every few minutes, spins 3 times while counting it off, and then snaps his fingers 3 times and then sets again.
Okay.
And then another guy they have to keep yelling at because he keeps taking his clothes off. And I don't want to judge.
There's no judgment.
Other people's struggles, but what was depressing to me is I was sitting there and I was just like, is this what it's fucking come to?
Yeah.
This is where I'm at now. And then they fed us Jell-O. Just to be like, let's really drive the cliche home. Here.
You know what? The woman's name was Nurse Ratchet that came out.
Yeah.
And...
Jack Nicholson was there.
That's weird. I mean, not that weird when you know Jack, but yeah.
Danny DeVito was there, and we compared body types.
They often got confused for one another.
Yeah. So
how long were you in that facility?
So I was there for almost 24 hours.
Okay.
I met with a psychiatrist while I was there. He recommended I go to another facility and get put on Seroquel.
Okay. Sorry, keep going. I just remember because we had a conversation. You said a different medication, Abilify, I believe.
That's what I ended up on.
Okay, sorry. I don't mean to jump ahead. Keep going.
So Seroquel is an antipsychotic.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you who've been listening and keeping track, I don't know why you would be keeping track of my medication.
I think there's like one of those Super Bowl squares that people like.
And if there's not, guys, please start that.
Start one. That'd be
what
fun.
we're taking. Yeah,
what we're taking. When's the next time Adam's gonna have a depressive episode or Brad's gonna go off his meds? That's fun. That's a good time.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And you know what? Let us know so we can put
I'll put some money down. Yeah, I'll put a couple of bucks down.
So he recommended I go on Seroquel. I'd only been taking lamotrigine, which I thought had been working really well. And in typical bipolar fashion, and I hate to admit this, but I think it's probably a good lesson for all of you. It was going so well, I was like, I don't need my meds anymore.
Wait, so this is prior to your manic episode? Yeah. See, man.
So, I know.
I'm not blaming you. I totally get it. Yeah.
But it's so cliche.
It is.
Like we all do it at some point. We're like, I'm doing better. I don't need this anymore.
Yeah.
No, you're doing better because you're taking it.
And
I especially feel like an asshole with that because we talk about that so much on here.
Sure.
Like, take your goddamn medication.
Yeah. But I get it. Like, I think everyone who listens gets it because this is still a weakness. It's viewed as a weakness. We have it in our head as a weakness. Yeah. And if we start besting that weakness, we want to be like, oh, now I'm stronger. Now I'm strong enough. I don't need any more assistance, right? Like, I got this. I have figured this out. Especially when you start taking steps to really address it. Like, dude, we're doing this podcast. You're going to therapy.
I've had all these breakthroughs.
You're talking to your wife, fully open about it, and then you're like, oh man, maybe I don't need the meds, and then blah. Yeah. Sorry. So, tell me, is Seroquel? Is that what you said?
So Seroquel.
Seroquel.
So that's an antipsychotic.
Okay. What was that experience like?
Well, okay. I didn't end up on the Seroquel for more than like a day.
Okay, so you didn't really even...
It was very sedative.
Yeah, sedative.
Does that work?
Yeah, sedative. Yeah.
Is that a word?
We know what you mean. You were sleepy pants.
I was sleepy pants. That's right.
Sleepy time tea.
So, yeah. So then they served me mac and cheese.
Wait, like, because you're from the South. That must have been super insulting because I can't imagine it was like
it was
good.
Microwave mac and cheese.
Yeah. Oh, and you must have been
the
pissed.
middle was still ice.
You must have been.
I was like, God damn! Like as though I'm not going through enough.
Right, exactly.
You can't even heat the fucking mac and cheese.
If I wasn't in a mental institution, I would now be in one because everything about this is wrong.
Check me in for a week because this mac and cheese has driven me over the edge.
That's okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. So
it was sedative.
Yeah. So then I get, we go through this whole rigmarole where they want to send me to this other facility.
Okay.
And they want to bring an ambulance out to
right. They fuck you with that bill
to take me. Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what about my car? I drove here. And they were like, oh, your car. Well, it'll probably get towed. I was like, well, I don't want my car to get towed. Can I just drive myself? And they said, well, for liability reasons, you can. And so we went back and forth on that shit. Again, thankfully, I was in enough, headspace. Which, by the way, the psychiatrist I spoke to was like, you did the right thing coming in when you did, because if this mania continued to ramp up at the pace that you're experiencing it, within a couple of hours, you wouldn't be in the mind frame to check yourself in.
Sorry, keep going. I have so many questions. Yeah. Keep going, please. And
So, so we go back and forth about the car, and then I was like, what we ended up landing on was I could check myself out, drive myself to the other place, which actually ended up being closer to my house. It's in Van Nuys.
Oh. And it was my house, you guys.
Yeah. They were sending me to Adam's house.
Brad lived in my garage.
Yeah. with beans licking my face. That was my therapy.
That's he's actually into feet, which is the weird part.
Yeah.
Beans is my dog, by the way.
I didn't tell you. I thought it was beans licking my feet, and I looked down one night. It was Mandy.
Weird. Weird, but it tracks.
And then she was like, make sure to tell Adam. I was like, this is weird.
It's real weird. Well, our marriage is unconventional.
So, so since I was driving myself, I was like, I'm going to go home first and change pants.
Good for you.
I don't want to go through that again.
Wait, did you get your pants back without the drawstring?
No, the drawstring was in them.
That would have been fun.
Yeah. So I drive home, I eat dinner, put the kids to bed. I'm feeling a lot better at this point. I think it's the Seroquel.
How did the kids react?
They didn't know what they
didn't
thought
know.
I'd
Okay.
Yeah, just like been at the gym all day or something.
Got it.
I didn't want to scare them.
No,
Daddy's
of course.
So by that time I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm like kind of debating whether I should go or not. But then I was like,
there you go. So it's like the mids, yeah.
Yeah. So I go to the place, and they told me that because I didn't take the ambulance would have done a medical screening on me. I had to be medically cleared. So I had to either go to an ER or go to their sister facility in Hollywood first to get medically cleared. And then it was an actual psych ward. So the minimum stay was 3 days.
So you had to go get checked physically.
Yeah.
And then once you got checked physically, you had to come back, and then it was a 3-day stay?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So at that point, I was feeling a lot better because of the Seroquel.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go home. Let me sleep tonight. Let's see how I am the next day. So I slept. I woke up the next day, and you know what comes after Mania, Adam?
Yeah, I do, Brad.
Shame. Unrelenting shame.
Shame.
All I wanted to do was to go crawl in a hole somewhere and not talk to anybody, and that no one would know I existed for the next week. And again, I had those memory gaps. I had no idea what the fuck I did, what I said to people.
We were texting, by the way, I believe at that time. If we go back, I believe we were.
See, I don't remember that.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had no idea. By the way, I found this out like the day before Brad actually checked himself in. Now, to this point, I still wasn't aware. And then right before Brad checked himself into the final location, that's when I learned about all this. So his memory gaps, I mean, even though I've had them myself, it's still hard to comprehend because I'm like, no, we were talking that whole time and talking about different methods of getting the podcast out there. And
yeah.
Sorry, keep going. Please proceed.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So I woke up the next day. I felt a lot better. But I decided that I should check myself into a longer term place.
Okay.
So going back to the whole rigmarole with all these hospitals referring me and checking my insurance, I ended up with a place that took my insurance, took my actual policy. And so I went and I checked myself in.
Okay.
And so I just got back from spending a week there. They wanted me to stay for a minimum of at least 16 days. But I had gotten to the point where it was kind of stressing me out to be away from the kids.
Sure. Yeah.
And
so were you there 24 hours a day?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was under the impression.
Well, I was looking, one of the places I was looking at that ended up not taking my policy, but they were incredibly nice, and they we went through the whole process. Was you could do 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. every day.
That was the one I thought you were in. Okay.
That's what I would have preferred.
Right.
So I check into this place, and it's a nice facility. It's in Ventura County. It's overlooking the ocean.
Oh,
la-di-da. Yeah, it was relaxing, for sure. It didn't feel like a hospital. It felt like you're at like a Marriott.
Sure. Did you plug our podcast while you were there?
I did.
Nice.
Not only did I plug our podcast, for those of you who listen to the best of episodes 1 through 6, I recorded that.
You did. You see that? This is all just a big old marketing scheme on the part of Brad.
Yeah. Guerilla marketing. Andy Kaufman would be proud. So anyway, so I check into this place. The first thing that they kind of clamp down is to establish a routine every day.
Okay.
And that's a routine I kept with today, and I hope to keep with afterwards. And apparently that's very important for bipolar.
What is your routine? Because I'm the same way. Like, if I don't have my routine, I'm fucked.
So the routine there was get up at 7 a.m., go for a walk, come back, have coffee, breakfast, and then there it was start therapy,
Sure,
psychiatrist, etc. Today I got back and I did some work, went to the gym, came back, took a shower, did more work, therapy, came here.
Got it.
Excuse me. So that was kind of every day is therapy, group sessions, meet with psychiatrists. I had a roommate who was a perfectly nice guy that wanted to talk about the Fast and the Furious movies way too much.
So was he a nice guy? Okay, wait a minute. How nice of a guy was he if it was that?
Well, luckily, he found another guy there who was really big into DC Comics movies.
Oh, perfect.
And they became fast friends.
Exact. Yep, great.
Excuse me. This facility was also electronics friendly.
Yeah,
so,
right. Because again, we were messaging.
Yeah, so I could text with people. I could make phone calls if I needed. I could do work on my laptop. They recommended keeping all that at a minimum just to keep your stress low.
Sure. How were the? I'm sorry. Keep going. So many questions.
Well, go ahead.
No, okay. So group sessions. What was that like? And were you in group sessions with other people that were suffering from the same?
Everybody in my ward was bipolar.
Okay. So the sessions that you were having were with other people that were bipolar.
Yeah. And different bipolar. There was some people there suffering from cyclothymic, bipolar 2, bipolar 1, which, by the way, while I was there, I got upgraded to bipolar 1.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so I did it, guys. I did it.
I think we can stop the podcast now. Brad succeeded in his he's Super Saiyan bipolar.
I've reached my final form.
Super Saiyan bipolar. That was awful. I apologize, everyone.
Thanks for listening. Help us continue the conversation. Leave us a comment with your thoughts, experiences, or questions about mental health. Every opinion and viewpoint is valid. Just don't be a dick.
And what I found out also was where I was talking about when I went into that bad manic episode, the one that did not feel good.
Right.
I found out 2 things about it. One, the colors and the sounds. What I was experiencing is what they call a pre-psychotic episode.
Okay.
So if that had continued to escalate, I would have gone into full-blown psychosis.
Take notes, everyone who's listening at home who might be suffering from bipolar. That's a really important item. I had no idea about that. So please.
I'd never heard about that either.
Yeah, be aware if whatever situation you're in, you start, experiencing that. Anyway, sorry, continue, please.
So the other thing was I was actually probably in a bad mixed feature state.
Okay.
Because one of the things, and I've experienced mixed feature states before, you have too.
Sure.
For those of you listening at home who maybe aren't familiar with this, basically a mixed feature state is the worst of both worlds.
Yep.
You have all the energy of mania, you have the grandiosity, yet you somehow still feel worthless and a piece of shit and unlovable and that the world's going to end at any moment. And you don't have any motivation to do anything. They say most suicides amongst bipolar occur during a mixed feature state. But one of the ways that people, and I've never experienced this before until this episode, that some people describe a mixed feature state is you have all that energy, but you feel so horrible that you feel like you just want to pull your skin off.
Sure.
And that's what I felt like.
Sure.
So I was experiencing a pre-psychotic mixed feature state.
Wow, that's a lot.
And so it was a good thing I went and got help when I did. So we were doing dialectical behavioral therapy.
Well, can you go into detail about that?
Yeah, so we recently interviewed Lauren Malisi. I'm not sure how these episodes will drop, but she was talking about this, going through this for borderline personality disorder and PTSD. But basically what dialectical behavioral therapy is you're exploring your emotions, not just the things you do, but the emotions behind them, the emotions you feel after, and kind of trying to rework how you think.
Okay.
That's different from cognitive behavioral therapy, which is more of kind of throwing up a mirror
in
front of you.
Like really diving into who you are. And
Right. How do you feel? Like what happened in your childhood that led to this, et cetera. Both are good.
Sure.
They're just different.
Different strokes, different folks.
So So we did a lot of dialectical behavioral therapy. To go back to your question about the groups, that was basically just a lot of talking, like everybody kind of sharing what they're going through, what their stories are, the things they've struggled with.
Did you find that helpful?
Yeah. I mean, kind of in the same way, like the messages we get here
Sure.
are. It's hearing what other people are going through. Not only do you not feel so alone in this, but sometimes the things that other people notice are things that you're experiencing, but you didn't really pay attention to.
Sure. You don't track it. Right.
Right. Or maybe they're verbalizing it in a way that clicks with you.
Yeah. Because that's, once again, we've talked about that. Like the way you see something, the way you verbalize something may not be enough to trigger a response from a medical professional, a friend, a loved one. And that's not on you guys and girls. It's, that's very much a fault of how we've come to view illness.
Yeah. So that was good. Talked to a psychiatrist daily.
Now, did they put you on a different medication while
They
you
did.
were there? Okay.
So because Seroquel is so sedating.
Sure.
There's the word.
There it is.
I did
like
it.
sedative. I like that.
I did it. I'm a writer.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And an actor, buddy. Don't forget.
I'll send you my headshot. So because Seroquel is so sedating, they put me on Abilify.
Okay.
Abilify is also an antipsychotic, but it's not as sedating as Seroquel. And I've liked the Abilify.
Are you still on the Abilify?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Okay.
Yeah,
So it's going to be an ongoing medication with you.
Yeah. So now my medication is lamotrigine at 125 milligrams a day.
So they upped it because you were at 100, right?
No, I was at 125.
Okay,
that
so it's the
stayed
same. Okay.
And then added the Abilify.
How much in Abilify?
I am on 50 milligrams of Abilify, I believe. And
Okay.
I take that before bed every night.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. There's a ice cream truck outside.
I'm telling you, that
And
awesome ice cream truck. We talked about it in Christy's episode, too. That's not us having an episode.
Yeah, I was going to say, it took me a second. I was like, am I the only one hearing this music?
Yes, you are.
It's like
bro.
in Silver Linings Playbook when he's the only one that hears Chérie l'amour.
I remember you texted me about that movie. It was a great clip that he picked out from Silver Linings Playbook, which I haven't seen in, 15 years. And I only think I saw it once.
Yeah, both Bradley Cooper's character and Jennifer Lawrence's character are bipolar
Right.
in it. And I'd seen it the first time way before being diagnosed.
Right.
without
Yeah, you
being
didn't
on
even
the
clock
radar.
it, right?
Didn't even clock it.
Yeah.
And then rewatching it after being diagnosed, man, that
Isn't
movie
that
hits.
isn't that funny, right?
Yeah.
Like you know, maybe in the back of your mind that this is about mental illness, and this is any number of different things you might consume, be they movies, books, films. I mean, movies and films are the same thing. Television shows, but until you really experience and clock it, going back and rewatching it, all of a sudden you're seeing it in a whole new light.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's. Okay.
This ice cream truck, by the way, sounds like one of those off-brand Nintendo games from
Oh
1987.
yeah. And they serve. I'm telling you, it's.
Did you guys ever play Kid Nicky?
Oh my!
No. What was it? Little Nicky Kid Ninja.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, they have good soft serve. We could go get some if you really want to. I know
We should.
It's really solid.
Pour some whiskey over it.
Yes.
Some scotch. Yeah. So.
Okay. So you're now on Abilify on the daily.
Yeah.
And you started taking that at the second. So that means you got off the Seroquel.
Yeah, Seroquel I only took for
Seroquel.
a day.
God damn it.
Um,
You know what it is? I want to say, what is it that plants utilize? I don't. You know what? Never mind. I don't know what I was going to say. I
know what you're talking about. I can't think.
Yeah,
of
wires across.
it. I went to school, y'all.
There it is. Oh, now it's outside.
Oh man,
Dude,
I feel like the Kool-Aid Man's about to bust through the wall here.
You know what's really funny though? Wouldn't it be great if the mic didn't pick any of that up? And
everybody's like, they're insane.
They're fucking having an episode. They're having an episode right now. It'd be amazing. I'm gonna have to go back and boost it and post just to make sure people know we're not fucking loco.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're on the Abilify, you're on the Mictol, and how did you find the time you spent away?
Relaxing.
Okay.
And I think it was needed, just kind of stepping outside of your life
Mm-hmm.
for a moment and just focusing on your mental health.
Right.
Even though I wasn't experiencing an episode when I went in,
Mm-hmm.
it was such a needed thing. You
Yeah.
know, I feel like I have better coping mechanisms now.
Oh, really? Okay.
I feel like I understand my triggers a little better, and what some of those triggers are.
Mm. So you felt like the time away wasn't just a chance for you to reset, but also it gave you the ability to establish growth, establish like you're bettering yourself while you're there. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like a reset; it was a reset and growth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is interesting because it's, I don't know. I was thinking about this earlier today. That's kind of this whole process, right? Is that
Right.
we're slowly growing.
Yeah.
We're slowly coming across these realizations. We're slowly finding these sour patches within ourselves. Sour Patch Kids?
Sure. Sour Patch Kids.
We're slowly finding these Sour Patch
Those
Kids.
crazy
within
gummy
ourselves.
freaks. Yep.
And eating them.
Eat them.
No, but you know, we keep finding these little things. I mean, all these things we've talked about in previous episodes. You know, knowing how to deal with some of these issues, knowing how to communicate some of these issues. You know, me finally letting go of the shit with my mom. Me, you know, we talked. I think it was in the parenting episode. You know, me realizing when I would go into these manic states because the way I grew up, you know, just desperately needing human touch,
Right.
and love bombing and all this stuff. You know, and I feel like that's this journey, is that you just slowly kind of deconstruct yourself and put the pieces back together into someone new.
I think that's, honestly think that's the hardest part of the journey, is that, like, especially as fixers, which is who we are, you know, just who we are, you want to say, okay, I'm on the medication. I've acknowledged the fact that I'm sick. This will now be fixed. Or I'm going to do some work, like I'm going to go away for a week. I'm going to reset. I'm going to learn what I need, and I'm going to be fixed.
And there's no fix.
And there's no fix.
And that's the mistake I made.
Sure.
You go back and you listen to our first few episodes. That was totally my mindset.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I know what I'm on. You know, I know what my problem is.
Mm-hmm.
I got the drugs. I got the therapy. I'm fucking good, man.
Yeah.
Let me call up everybody. Be like, hey guys, Brad's back.
Brad's back.
And that's
Brad
not
ever
the
left?
case.
Mm.
Yeah. There's not a destination here. It is a journey, and it's probably a lifelong journey. And hopefully you continue to improve along that journey.
Well, and that comes down to work. Like,
Yeah.
here's the thing. We've had a lot of episodes now. We've talked about not being ashamed, and we've talked about, like, you know, understand that who you are is okay, even if it is a little broken. None of that excuses you from the work that you need to do to better yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, you have these compulsions, you have this illness, you still got to do the work, man. Like, that's a justification. It's not an excuse.
Yeah. You know, we had Christy Wampler on a few episodes back to talk about CPTSD after a verbally abusive marriage.
Right.
And she and I have been talking a lot since. And one of the things that came up was she constantly tried to get her husband during that marriage to go to therapy, and he wouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
He knew he had a problem, and he wouldn't put in the work.
You know,
and that's where you got to draw the line. Like,
yeah.
That's why their relationship ended.
Acknowledge that. If you have people in your life who you feel are sick, and maybe they even acknowledge they are sick, but they're unwilling to seek help for that sickness or do the work, you know, to better themselves, that's a red flag, everybody. That's toxic, because what they're going to do is...
You can have empathy.
Oh, yeah. But that doesn't mean you need to let their ignorance, chosen ignorance, continue to drag you down into the quagmire. Yeah.
Because obviously we're mentally ill. You know,
clearly, if you've listened to any of this podcast,
the subtitle of the show, obviously we have a lot of empathy toward mental illness. But at some point you You have to take responsibility for your own shit.
Yep.
Whatever that looks like. And that might look like something scary. I was scared shitless
I'm sure.
to check into a mental hospital. And I know it was the right thing. And it still feels like a low point.
Yeah.
You know? And it probably will for a while.
And yet, you know, a year and a half ago, I had appendicitis. And I went into the ER.
And you don't think twice about it.
You don't think twice
You're
about
not like,
it.
I should have cut that out
What
myself.
am I? I should have fucking just been a man.
Mandy, bring me the scotch and a belt. And a rusty knife.
Exactly. Yeah, the rustier the better, baby. Great. We're going to keep this. We're going to put it up on the mantle.
We're going to name it George. It's George by appendix.
Exactly. You know, it's like, yeah, that you wouldn't think twice about it.
Right. But for some reason, when it comes to mental health, I mean, even as much as we talk about that and we try to destroy that stigma, I still have that in me.
Of course, so do I.
Yeah.
So do I. And I don't know if it's because part of us doesn't value mental health as much as we value physical health.
I mean, like you said, it's you can't see it.
Right.
And it's difficult. You know, I'm an incredibly introspective person, especially since getting diagnosed with this. I'm constantly reflecting on what I've done during episodes. It's hard to parse sometimes what's you and what's the illness.
Sure.
And I think that's a difficult thing too, that you don't get with physical ailments. I mean, again, you have appendicitis, you have a fever, you have these things that are directly appendicitis.
Mm-hmm.
When you have something like bipolar, it affects your behavior.
Right.
Right?
All sorts of shit can affect your behavior.
Right. What's the line between me and manic me?
Right.
You know? And I don't always have the answer for that.
You know, I was talking to my shrink last week, and we were talking about joy, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, so what does joy look like for you?
She's 6'1", blonde.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Boo. Both of our wives are brunette and not 6'1". But it's that idea of like, what does joy look like for you? And have you experienced it? And I'm like, I mean, I'm sure I've experienced joy at some point in my life, but to quantify it, I don't know how to do that. Yeah, not really. And so he said, well, okay, fair enough. How do you know what you've experienced at your high points, be they manic moments or not, is not joy? And I'm like, I don't have an answer for that. The only answer I do have is like, if it takes me to feel like that, like to feel manic, to feel like an adrenaline rush that won't end, to feel joy, I don't want that. Like, if this is who I am, I don't like it, and I want to change it. And there's some parts of me I can't change, you know, the parts that are written into my DNA, and like, you know, the parts that are, you know, my trauma that have manifested into the way I am. But at the same time, it's like, don't tell me that the only way to feel good is like this, because I don't want that to be the case. And that comes back to what we were talking about. Like, okay, then do the work.
Yeah,
do the work. Like, find
do the work.
Find a way to find joy in another way.
And especially you have to do the work if it's affecting the people you love.
Yeah. Oh, that's huge. Well, and that was another thing I wanted to talk to you about. So how did your family feel about this time away?
So my kids thought I went away for work.
Okay.
Again, I didn't want to worry them. We've talked before. I try to be open with my kids about what I have, but just even the word hospital.
Sure. Well, it conjures such an image.
Yeah. I mean, and my youngest son had just had to go to the hospital because he fell while playing soccer, hit his head on the bleachers. It cut it to the bone.
What?
Yeah. So he had to go and have stitches, and they had to give him lidocaine shots inside the wound.
Holy crap.
I was in tears. I've never heard a kid scream like this.
Wait.
It was.
Wait a minute. Is this the same one who had a hernia? Because didn't one of your kids have a hernia at some point?
No.
Different friend.
No, but he nearly bit his tongue into one.
Damn.
Yeah, and had to have
fucking
his
hardcore at the Hodgson house.
This kid, he's gonna be a UFC fighter or something.
There you go. He won't have any mental issues.
Yeah.
Keep going.
But he's also hilarious. So, oh god, he's gonna be Joe Rogan.
Oh
That's
no!
He's gonna be
no!
Man.
He's gonna piggyback off the success of your podcasting career.
And he has such nice hair now. But yeah, anyway, so, my wife was incredibly supportive over it. She's very practically minded to the point where sometimes it kind of hurts a little.
Yeah.
Like, her main concern was, does insurance cover this? What's it going to cost out of pocket, etc.
I mean, you
I was
can't.
just like, can you just talk about me for a minute?
Yeah.
But that's how she deals with stress.
Sure. Well, yeah, she like reins it in. Like she like finds a way to control it in some aspect, and I get that. But it's also a real fucking concern because like
a real fucking
$75,000. You know, it's like,
right. And again, that's our like. I'm not going to take this into the political arena, but we talk about the gun problem in the U.S. and mass shootings, and everybody's like, well, we need better mental health. We need better mental health care. And it's like, well, what the fuck does that look like, guys? Because the system we have does not work.
Nope.
It does not work.
No, it's broken. It's broken.
Yeah.
And again, this is coming from two people who are doing their best to work within the system.
Yeah.
Two people who are aware, and
working with places, like I said, every one of these places, even the places that didn't take my insurance could have easily been like, oh, I'm sorry, we don't take your insurance. Click.
Right.
And they busted their asses to try to find me some other place.
And
like those people gave a shit.
Right. And this is Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Los Angeles, this is snowflake capital of the world.
Yeah, what if you're in St. Louis, Missouri?
Right. I mean, yeah.
You're in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah,
you're
Bumblefuck, Maine. Like
in Gadsden, Alabama. Which,
right.
by the way, nobody in Gadsden opens their mouth when they talk. So they all talk like this. I'm from Gadsden.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I like that. But it's still like, that's not fair to you at all. And it's like, hey, system, like, fucking figure it out, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's funny, too, is the party that talks about how we need mental health care instead of any kind of gun reform is also the party that is against any kind of medical reform. They don't want socialized medicine. They don't want these things. And I don't care where you set politically.
This is not a political podcast.
But this system doesn't work.
It doesn't.
And there needs to be a fix. And the fix isn't, well, let's just do more of the same.
Right. And we're not sitting here pretending to have the answer because we don't.
Yeah, like, God knows we don't.
No, it does.
We're just people who are fighting our way through it and realizing it does not fucking work.
No.
And thinking again, what if you have borderline personality disorder? What if you have schizophrenia and you're going through a much more serious episode? What if now that I know I'm bipolar 1, what if I was having a full-on fucking delusion? That I thought God was speaking to me and he wanted me to fly.
Right.
And I'm having to go through all these hoops to try to get help. It's absurd. It's really absurd.
Yeah.
It's Batshit.
Oh my, that's the name of the podcast. What? We tied it all up, you guys. This is our last episode. Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, it's I don't know. But like you said, you have to do the work.
Yeah.
And that means fighting through this shit. And you got to do the work when you need to do the work. I mean, again, to bring it back to Christy and her husband, he was incredibly verbally abusive because of things that happened in his childhood.
Right.
He needed help. She told him what he was doing to her and that she needed him to get help, and he refused until after she left him. After she was already diagnosed with CPTSD from being with this man, and she left him, and then he decided to go to therapy. And good for him.
Yeah.
Like he's now doing the work.
He's taking steps.
And he needs the help. But it's too late.
Yeah. At the cost of...
for that relationship,
right. Well,
anyway.
also at the cost of Christy's mental health.
Right. And if you love somebody, and I don't even necessarily mean a romantic love.
No,
if
it's
that. Your parents, your children, a romantic partner, if it's a best friend, if somebody is like, look, I love you and I need you to get help, you got to fucking man up, woman up, non-binary up, and go get the fucking help.
Yeah. And, we've had a lot of people message us who aren't necessarily diagnosed, but who are friends of people who are diagnosed or family members who are diagnosed. And they talk about the struggles that they're going through. And those people, I just want you to hear this. it's awesome that you're supporting these people. It's amazing that you're aware and you're trying to be, informed as much as you can. Those people need help, and they need to acknowledge that they need help, and they need to seek that help. And at no point should you have to take that on yourself. At no point should you be like, it's my fault because, Jane Doe is not doing what they should do. I am got to inform myself more to convince them to do that. No, that's a slippery slope. That's a rabbit hole for you to fall down,
Yeah. I mean, it gets to a point with people in your life where you have to set an ultimatum.
Yeah.
And try to do that when they're not in an episode.
Right.
Because they can, if you have that grandiosity, if they're bipolar, for instance, and you got that grandiosity while you're manic, you're not hearing that shit.
Nope.
There's nothing wrong with you.
Right.
If you're grandiose.
Yeah. So you got to wait till they're at 0, whatever that 0 looks for them, and just talk to them and be like, look, you need help, and you need to seek help. And if you refuse to seek help, then
I can't be here for you.
I can't. Right. Because
you got to take care of your own mental health.
Right.
Too.
Because if you sit there and you're like, you martyr yourself for this human being that refuses to, look at it like this. You're swimming in the ocean with another person by your side, and that person refuses to paddle. Right. So they are going to wrap their arms around your neck and drag you down. And you're sitting there going, I'm a strong swimmer. I got this. Eventually, you're going to get exhausted. They're going to drag you beneath the surface, and you're fucked.
Well, and again, look at, I don't know what her husband has.
Sure.
Like, he's going to end up being diagnosed with something. I guarantee it.
Mm-hmm.
She thinks it might be narcissistic personality disorder. But Christy's husband gave her CPTSD.
Right.
That's what ended up happening in that relationship because he wouldn't seek help. And that's what can happen to a lot of you. And it's not that you're abandoning this person.
You're not abandoning them.
You're trying to protect yourself and force their hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And ultimately, if you don't do the work, you don't go and you get that diagnosis, you don't get on the medication, you don't do the therapy, it's just going to get worse and worse.
Yeah. You're a walking time bomb.
Yeah. I mean, trust me,
and we're doing the work.
Yeah. The reason I got diagnosed to begin with was because I had a horrible, horrible year last year of bad episodes. And it all culminated with me with somebody I considered my best friend in the world. I cared about this person more than almost anyone at the time. And telling me what a piece of shit I was. And that for like a good 2 hours, just
just like hammering you.
Yeah, with all this stuff, and it just left me going, God, what the fuck is wrong with me?
Right.
And that friendship's destroyed. That person will never talk to me again. But that hitting that kind of level of rock bottom is what pushed me there, and it shouldn't have taken that.
Right. Right.
I mean, I was, we've talked about before, I was grasping at straws. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Maybe it's I went on testosterone therapy. Maybe it's I was in a car wreck, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, this is something I've been struggling with my whole life. And at some point in my life, I should have been like, I have a problem. Let me go see a professional.
But you don't know you have a problem.
Until it gets that bad.
Until it gets that bad.
Yeah,
and I think
that's the problem.
Hey, everyone out there who is who's dealing with someone in their life that you think might have a disorder that is not diagnosed, and these people refuse to even talk about it, share this podcast with them and trick them because we're kind of funny. Be like, hey, look at these
guys are hilarious.
Look at these hilarious assholes who are mentally deficient. Listen to them be assholes. And maybe somewhere in these however many episodes we've released at this point, something will click with them.
Yeah. And we get that in a lot of messages.
We do.
That people have said, hey, my spouse, this person, that person in my life, I was listening to your podcast. I got them listening to it, and they finally decided to go seek help.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't know what that diagnosis is, going to be. Don't at any point in time be like, oh, they got to be bipolar. That's what this is.
Yeah.
No.
There's such a huge spectrum of mental illness,
and you're not a fucking doctor.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope doctors aren't listening to this podcast.
Oh God.
Okay.
I'm kind of embarrassed.
I was really embarrassed.
Unless they're sex doctors.
Sex doctors. Yeah. Yeah. I have to take your drawstring pants, Brad.
Do I get a gown?
Oh,
we're out of gowns.
oh no. Gross.
I'll tell you what we do for therapy here.
So you guys can't see Brad, but he doesn't have those like glorious 70s locks, that go down past his shoulders. But I really want to go out and get him a wig that does that just because of this conversation.
Wear some aviators.
Yeah, of course, buddy. Denim on denim.
The Canadian tuxedo.
Canadian tuxedo. Well, buddy, I'm glad you went and sought help. I'm glad that you're finding a routine and
as shitty as I felt about doing that, the amount of support that I received from the people around me, like not just my family and you, I'm getting choked up. Like, my friends, a guy I write screenplays with, John Patrizzi, who I'll call out here, who also suffers from some stuff. Everybody was just like, you're doing the right thing. We're proud of you. We love you. And having that support system means a lot.
Yeah.
Because this shit's fucking hard, man.
It's hard. Find a support system. Be a support system. Not at the detriment to your own health, but like we need your help. We do. Even at our best of times, we still need your help. So offer it. Accept it, because that's a huge part of it. Like a lot of people don't like to accept help.
Hard to accept help.
And continue to work towards bettering yourself.
You know what I actually thought of the other day?
Mm.
I'm going to throw this out here to Adam for the first time on the podcast.
Uh-oh.
We should start like some kind of like meetup groups.
Oh.
Batshit Badasses.
That's a good idea.
Like in cities where there's more than one person who listens to us.
All right, so now we're really stretching ourselves.
Wouldn't that be cool? Like once a
cool.
month, the Batshit Badasses all get together and have a
like
drink
that
and
idea. Yeah, and it can be super informal. Like it's not a therapy session.
No, it's just people meet each other and get to form a little community.
And talk about shit.
Talk about all this shit.
Yeah, and even if like at these meetups, you don't talk about the shit that you've gone through in your in your bad states. You just get to know people who you can relate to, and then when you have a situation you need to talk about, you have a community.
Yeah, and even if you're not suffering from a mental illness and you listen to this podcast, and you just want to learn more about it and you want to be supportive, or you have somebody in your life who's going through it and you want to know more about it, you can show up at these things.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I have no idea how the fuck to organize that.
Nope, we don't. Nope. This is going to come out and people are going to be like, that's great. And then radio silence from us because we're still fucking figuring out how to record a podcast, people, let alone like.
And guess what? In bipolar, you have a lot of big ideas that you never figure out how to implement.
Manic as fuck! Scotch. No, but seriously, buddy, thank you for sharing that experience with us. Thank you for seeking help and being safe and continuing to better yourself. Like, really, I mean it. Like, it's hard, and I know it's hard. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank all of you listening.
Yeah. Thank you, guys and girls. We see you. We love you. Keep fighting. Keep helping the people in your life fight, and never give up.